similar to the trees by my house, and it's part of the kind of extension of the Santa Cruz Mountains. So on the way to back, you see the Freedom Boulevard. I guess it kind of, brainwashes you to believe things a certain way. Say 101 South, right? Excuse me, not 111 South, Highway 1 South. Okay. And for whatever reason, back in the day, I used to confuse this with my exit. To tell you the truth, I'm a little confused about this, right? I'm pretty sure my exit's Airport Boulevard, but we'll see, right? I'm going to have to double back. I can kind of tell by the stuff on the side of the road, too. I'm pretty sure I passed this stuff going the other way without just getting off the freeway. We'll figure this out. Wish me luck, right? Nice to park at that kind of rest stop right there. My car was in bad shape. That city over there in the distance must be months ago. Yeah, relaxing up the wall. So here I am driving through Watsonville, the city where in the unincorporated area of it, unincorporated Watsonville, where Jeremiah Aguilera and his cousin were shot, and then it has a lot to do with my targeting. People have targeted me. Okay. Of course, I don't approve gang violence and so on and so forth, and I hope that there's peace in that city. There's peace everywhere. I want everyone to scramble and do the right thing to the best of their ability. So yeah, I used to always come back this way with my parents since I moved to Morgantown in like 1989 or so. And so I'd see this area, and I'd kind of think, it's interesting. There's a lot of poor people here struggling. I always notice people struggle. And there's kind of some funny noises we just ended here. Control. So the Pied Piper Pest Control. What do they mean by that? Well, these guys tend to allude to what's going on in society as well. They distract you in various ways, like Pan, right? Pan with his flute, pipe with his pipe. It's absolutely a part of it. I actually took a wrong turn, but I see a lot of these plants out here, and I think about the struggle of immigrant labor, and look at this stuff, how organized it is, how it seems well done, what have you, and it's clear that it's stupid to not incorporate the immigrants into the economy. You can make it so that they pay less rent by building new cities with a certain design, and so that they're taxed at a higher rate, so people can complain less about whatever burden they perceive them to be bringing. But I've been making this argument for quite some time. People aren't hearing me. So I'm actually going to pull over, let my car rest me 5 minutes, and go to this gas station. I used to always go here. I'd buy like a chocolate fudge cake and a carrot cake they used to have here. I'd buy a little beer or something, and I'd head up to Santa Cruz. That way I'd have a beer already when I went to see who I was visiting at the time. This quick stop here. Yeah, and this is where this story where there was a bunch of guys standing here. It was like late at night. I was coming back. It might have been 11. I don't know. And I was like, man, I didn't know this place isn't open at night, or maybe it was in a different place. So I turned that turn right, and one of them like comes out on the road as I'm turning on this. I guess it's East Lake right here, East Lake in So this is heading back toward those mountains right there, okay, which are the Santa Cruz Mountains. And on the other side of the mountains is where I live in unincorporated Morgantown. Now, somewhere over there, there's like one or two spots you see. There's some structure that resembles a castle. I don't know if it's still there. Someone pointed that out to me, from a school. They were on a school field trip, and they said, "Look over there, right?" So I don't want to hit anybody. I probably should leave it alone. Hopefully, if it's there, it got picked up on this camera. Yeah, and it goes back to the labyrinth. To some degree, I felt like I was in a labyrinth when I was by Westcliff on the west side of Santa Cruz, going through those back streets, trying to find my way to certain places. I remember one was Almar, which is where the park is, and when they were doing construction on Westcliff, and I haven't been there in a while, I felt some kind of way about it. So here, this might very well be over here. Well, there's the fairgrounds over here. This might be very well where those two gentlemen unfortunately were killed. Now, I feel kind of weird bringing it up all the time, but this is part of the story, and it is sad. And when you think about how people forget the victims, it's disturbing, right? So it's like you want to bring it up, you want to do something to remember them, and the government keeps fueling me, so they keep messing up the tone of my voice, and I don't speak in hidden code. I'm not sneak dissing anybody. I want to make that clear. They try to make it seem like I am. I want to set the record straight, And I used to stop at this Valero too. They sell some kind of food there. I used to eat. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like hot wings or fries or something. I'd go ahead and eat that, right? And me, I'm very wary with food, right? I don't like even eating at 7-Eleven. I don't like eating at a lot of taco stands on the side of the road, but I think that people, if that's what you do, that's what you do. I'm not trying to knock it, I'm not trying to warn you about it or something, but that's just me, And so it was interesting that I had no problem going there. I guess I was starving or something. I got in the habit of doing it every once in a while. I'd stop again and say, okay, yep. You meet interesting people over in these places sometimes on a fluke. So this seems like home to me to some degree, and to some degree it doesn't, because we're in the kind of mountains, and there's a lot of houses that are similar to these houses by where I live. Okay, this kind of, yeah. And so that's also important to note, to help you people sort of understand me. What was Jesus like? What was he doing? Okay. How was he living? That's how I was living, right? I was living in a place that's similar to this. Okay, in the cuts in Morgan Hill for a long time, and then I moved out on my own for a while in San Jose. I went to boarding school in Southern California. Reform school in Southern California. Got kicked out of reform school, believe it or not, because hey, they were doing a number on me and pressing me, and I was heartbroken. I was feeling very angry because I was heartbroken, and I was acting very tough and acting up when they brought up that they were going to possibly send me to reform school. And when I got there, it wasn't really reform school, it was like a camp, and then he hinted at, hey, at this camp they take things seriously. I'm like, what's a camp? What are you talking about? And it turned out it was reform school. Maybe I should have caught the hint, I don't know, because I was asking him. I was like, it's like a boot camp. It's not a boot camp. So he's saying things like that confused the situation, but it was basically a reform school that's very similar to a boot camp. And then I got kicked out of there and got sent to Ascent in Idaho, a behavior modification wilderness program, and it was like a boot camp, right? And I was very miserable there, and so on and so forth. And I ended up moving masterfully to get myself released early, and not by kissing their ass either. And I got sent home early. They wanted me to finish the whole 2.5-year program at CDU Reform School in Southern California, and to I think that would take me into being 18 and a half or so. And they said, hey, no matter how old you are when you get out, you need to finish that program, then you'll be a man. You see, that Western conception, the specific Western conception, I'm sure a lot of white people find abhorrent, was what they were pushing on me, saying you have to be that type of person before you can come home, son. And so we've had a long-standing disagreement about things connected to that. My parents eventually thought it was more logical to kind of concede my point about reform school, but we have disagreements in regards to assimilation, the Western culture, what have you. I do not believe in assimilation. 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. Now, my father grew up a Catholic, very strict Catholic. My dad grew up a Catholic. My grandmother was an extremely devout Catholic, extremely. Okay, she was a very serious woman, and she believed in doing God's work. Okay, when she was in the hospital, she prayed for me. And the New World Order, they basically told me that she was going to die soon, and they planned to kill her, and they killed her with plausibility, deniability. I don't want anyone to be afraid about that. My grandmother died, a very righteous woman. I'm very proud of the fact that, obviously I resent them for doing it, but no one hates it more than I do, so to speak, right? I'm very proud of the fact that she toed the line for God, and she died a righteous woman. Very proud. Okay, so shout out to my grandmother and all the victims of the New World Order. It's a damn shame, and I don't approve of the New World Order. I'll never approve. They killed my grandmother. They killed my cousin back in Nigeria. She was shot in the chest, okay, by a robber, and it was a message to me that had to do with the heart. Okay, and there's a bunch of cults all over the world, and there was other people, right? My uncle, he died of brain cancer, and they had something to do with that, as I'm told. mean, if they didn't, they may as well have, because they framed it as if they did. And that's how you really make somebody resent you, okay? So it was my uncle, my dad's cousin, I say my cousin, my dad's cousin, and my grandmother. And then my grandmother on my mom's side, I think she might have died of natural causes, I don't know, but she was really old, and you know, it was after they were killing my family members, like Martin Luther King's family members were killed. And I gotta urge you again, do not be afraid of death. Do not fear that. Even if they wiped out my whole family, I still stand firm. I believe in God with all my heart, and wherever it takes me, wherever it takes me. And God knows my heart. I don't even pray anymore because they hack my brain. But God knows how I feel about everything to a T. God knows that I would be praying fervently with all my heart to Him if they didn't interfere. Okay, God knows that I love Him with all my heart. God knows I love my grandma. God knows I wanted to bring everybody to God, including the people in this area who were killed. And they were killed by the New World Order. And I'll be saying that to the day that I die. First and foremost, the governing class killed them. Okay, the social orders that govern the world, they killed these people. And I do not believe they'll have justice in this world, because the way people respond to the way things are structured, the way things are done. Let me leave it there. Over here we see, you know, Hecker Pass. I used to drive over here a little bit nervous, right, man? What would it be like to drive off this cliff, right? I'm like, man, you know, I don't want to do that, right? But when I was little, I remember that kind of thing, you know. I was lightweight afraid of heights. Now I'm kind of, I'm afraid of not being persecuted for righteousness' sake. Again, not being persecuted for righteousness' sake, right? That's what I'm afraid of, right? The only thing I'm afraid of is God, right? And not being right with God. Okay, you know. I wish I had true love here. I wish these communities truly understood how much I've tried to bring them to God. I wish people knew that I'm right, and that they, no matter what they have, you know, what kind of collateral they have, what kind of situation they're in, they're better off rallying to me and accepting the consequences. Okay, I wish I could explain it to them better. I'm a firm believer that God sent me, that when people actually hear me out, that no one could do a better job than I do about conveying that the kingdom of heaven is real. God is real. The things I say are true. I don't want to take up too much space on my phone. I have a lot of uploading to do. I got a kind lady to respond to my first question. I felt kind of too sad to ask her the second question. She was kind of reluctant to go on from there. We spent a long time exploring things, and so I didn't ask her the other questions, which have a lot to do with social order, and they're a little bit awkward to ask, right? All right, so cut it off right before this. See the M, that stands for magic, like Ronald McDonald's. It stands for 13, the master number, a lot of things, right? This is Mount Madonna Inn, shut down now. It's rather unfortunate. It'll be a nice little halfway point for someone like me going to Santa Cruz, right? But at the same time, most of the driving occurs after that. But certainly this hill, it does a number on my vehicle, or else I would have been going to Santa Cruz periodically this whole time. And to some degree, there's people there who don't want me there. Okay, and I can't stress that enough. When I was there living with Asia sometimes, that nice female who saw in one of these videos I did back in 2017, they were telling me covertly, they were saying get the hell out of Santa Cruz and so on and so forth, and then some people were saying, hey, not everyone wants you to leave Santa Cruz, and you feel like the most powerful people want you to leave, and that's the effect. Let me turn off here.